This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
This episode is brought to you by eBay. We all have that piece. The one that's so you've basically become known for it. And if you don't yet, fashionistas, you'll find it on eBay. That Miu Miu red leather bomber, the Custo Barcelona cowboy top, or that Patagonia fleece in the 2017 colorway. All these finds are all on eBay, along with millions of more main character pieces backed by authenticity guarantee. eBay is the place for pre-loved and vintage fashion. eBay, things people love.
I am seeing a lot of kids with a variety of symptoms right now, and they all turn out to be from allergies. And some parents are surprised when I tell them that's what's going on. Some kids are just really tired and run down, and parents don't quite put that together with their sniffing. And then there are other parents who have terrible allergy symptoms themselves who are worried that their young infant has allergies. But babies do not get environmental allergies. You have to be exposed to the allergen for a little while, like years, in order to develop allergies. I have noticed, though, that allergy symptoms seem to start earlier and last longer and be worse than even just a few years ago. And I thought I was being ridiculous. I thought I was just being oversensitive. But then I heard from Dr. Mary Johnson, a researcher at Harvard, and she explained her research that there may be some truth to the idea that allergies are getting worse. See, my hunches based on an N of like 3 people are sometimes actually a good gauge of reality. I'm Dr. Wendy Hunter, and I'm the pediatrician next door. I'm that doctor friend you call for practical advice about your kid's health. I mix the science of medicine with the reality of parenting. If your child has a runny nose, itchy eyes, or starts sneezing nonstop every spring, or maybe in the fall too, you're not alone. Seasonal allergies are actually quite common in kids, but they can still be confusing and frustrating, and sometimes we even mistake them for something else. I see it all the time. For example, sometimes when you think a child has pink eye, it's actually allergic conjunctivitis. So why do seasonal allergies happen? Seasonal allergies, also known to us as allergic rhinitis, that's like an inflammation in the nose, they happen when your child's immune system overreacts to something in the environment, like pollen from trees, grasses, or pollen from weeds. Instead of ignoring the pollen, the child's immune system treats it like it's a threat, and their body releases chemicals, especially histamine, and that causes inflammation. I want to point out that a lot of parents give their child an antihistamine like Benadryl or Zyrtec or Claritin when they have sneezing and runny nose from a cold, but it's not going to do anything at all because the kid's symptoms are being caused by a virus, not because they're releasing histamine. So save these medications for allergic symptoms only. Anyway, this inflammatory response to pollen leads to all the classic symptoms you see, like sneezing, runny nose, itchy eyes, itchy nose, itchy throat, postnasal drip, coughing, and even fatigue. You can get that from not sleeping well because of the allergies, but mostly it's the histamine release in your body that makes you tired. And for kids with asthma, their allergies can trigger a flare-up of their asthma and make their symptoms worse. From a scientific standpoint, we know that allergic rhinitis is actually more common in kids who have a family history of things like allergies, asthma, or eczema. It's part of what we call the atopic march. The idea that kids who have eczema in infancy are more likely to develop food allergies and then respiratory allergies later in life. All right, why is it seasonal? This is pretty easy. The seasonal part refers to when certain pollens are in the air. Here's your quick cheat sheet for you. You will see some variability, but in general, in the spring, you're going to see a lot of tree pollens like oak, maple, and birch. And in the summer, we see more grasses like Bermuda rye and Timothy grass allergies. In the fall, we see a lot of ragweed. That's the biggest culprit. In Southern California, where I practice, we don't always get a break between allergy seasons. In fact, some kids have symptoms pretty much year-round, and we call that perennial allergies, especially if they're sensitive to indoor triggers like dust mites or mold. Kids just can't get away from those allergens if they're in the house, so they can have allergy symptoms literally all the time. If you see allergy symptoms during every season, that's a hint that the allergen might not be outside. It's probably in your house. But even classic seasonal allergies can start earlier than you think. A lot of kids show symptoms by age 2 or 3. That's not typical, but they can start then and they worsen over time if they're not treated. How do seasonal allergies affect kids? I mean, it's pretty obvious. If you've had allergies or watched your kid, you know what you're looking for. Allergies just don't make kids miserable alone. They can interfere with sleep, school performance, mood, and their behavior. A kid who's constantly congested, they might snore, they might have restless sleep, and they can be cranky or have trouble focusing during the day at school. Sometimes allergies are misdiagnosed as ADHD, as a matter of fact, because the kid might fidget a lot or have inattention that comes due to poor sleep and being uncomfortable. How can I tell if a child has allergies? Here's what I look for. Sometimes parents do miss the signs, and something fun that I look for, I think it's fun, is what we call the allergic salute. That's when kids rub their nose upward with the palm of their hand, leading to a little crease across the bridge of their nose. I also look for dark circles under the kids' eyes, like we call them allergic shiners, which are caused by blood pooling under the eyes due to nasal congestion. Now you figured out how to identify allergies, but how do you treat them? There are several strategies here, from some lifestyle changes, and then we can talk about medications. The first thing you want to do, of course, is to reduce your exposure. That's where I called in Dr. Mary Johnson from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, and she's in the Department of Environmental Health. She researches allergies. She's a doctor, like she has a PhD and an MD. Here are her suggestions for minimizing the effects of seasonal allergies.
Behaviorally, one thing you can do is check the pollen counts. There are websites that can give the pollen counts every day. If you happen to know what you're allergic to, on those days, if you're going to be outside, it might be a good idea to wear a mask. It might be a good idea to close your windows, run your air conditioner, or run an air purifier to try to get the pollen out of your home. If you're outside and come in, you might want to take a shower, get that pollen out of your hair and off your clothes, change your clothes. So those types of behavioral things can certainly help. And then in addition, there's over-the-counter and you can see your physician about prescription medication to help alleviate the impacts of the seasonal allergies.
I agree. You can reduce your exposure on high pollen count days by staying inside and making an environment in your home with less pollen. If you do go outside, bathe your kids earlier in the afternoon, right after returning home, and wash their hair to get the pollen out. You can use a nasal saline spray to get pollen out of their nose, and you may even want to wipe down your dog to remove pollen from their coat. Dr. Johnson mentioned medications, and I'll go through the basics. If nothing else, this is the big take-home message I want you to listen to. Do not use Benadryl. That is the brand name for the generic diphenhydramine. I just have to pause here to tell you how passionate I feel about not using Benadryl. But my friend, Dr. David Stukas, who goes by Allergy Kids Doc on Instagram, he explained it best. This is what he posted online. Stop using Benadryl. That was in all caps. He cites a new study and a bunch of older studies. He says, we have so many better options that work faster, last longer, and have less side effects. Benadryl is a terrible medication that is outdated and overused. It's literally not allowed to be used by pilots within 30 hours of flying a plane because it can impair them, yet we give it to babies like candy. Anything you would use for Benadryl can be replaced with cetirizine, which is Zyrtec, loratadine, Claritin, or fexofenadine, Allegra. Can you use one of these medications for an acute allergic reaction? Yes, hives, yes. What if I already take one every day and I need another one? Yes. Anyway, you get the idea. That's Dr. David Stukas. He is a great allergist. You can follow him on Instagram. Okay, don't use Benadryl or any other products with diphenhydramine. Just stop, please. In terms of the recommended treatments for seasonal allergies, the most effective first-line treatment is going to surprise you. It's nasal steroid sprays like fluticasone, which is Flonase, or mometasone, which is Nasonex. Why do I like them so much? They reduce inflammation right at the source. If you're having symptoms in your face, like itchy eyes, runny nose, itchy throat, don't take a medication by mouth that affects the entire body through the bloodstream. Instead, spray something in your nose that will drip down your throat and might even treat your eyes because, like I love to say, all the holes in your head are connected. So for the best results, you need to use your nasal spray every single day during allergy season, not just when your symptoms pop up, because they take a few days to start working. There is a role for oral antihistamines that you drink, like cetirizine, which is Zyrtec, or loratadine. They can help with sneezing and itching, but they don't treat congestion very well. I tend to recommend to use an antihistamine on an as-needed basis in addition to your daily nasal spray because they can work when you need them. So save them for days when your child has a big exposure, like they visit a house with a cat and they're allergic to cats, or you have a soccer game all day outside. Just like nasal sprays work, there are also amazing eye drops for allergies like Pataday, which is oloptadine, and that can be helpful for itchy, watery eyes. They are available over the counter. So if your child has itchy or red eyes, watery, look for allergy eye drops. You can also try using refrigerated artificial tears. That's just saline that you put in your eyes, and it can feel very soothing. And if their eyes are bothering them, you can also try just putting a cool washcloth on their eyeballs. If your child's still struggling, you can talk to your pediatrician because we do sometimes add leukotriene inhibitors like Montelukast, which is Singulair, and that's a once daily pill for allergy symptoms. There are some other good nasal sprays and combination medications that are only available by prescription as well. So for most people, a nasal steroid that you buy over the counter works just fine. So you heard me say during the allergy season. So when is that? For some places and for some people, allergy season is quite predictable, and you should start your medications a few weeks before your symptoms usually start. This is important because it's always easier to prevent allergies than to stop the symptoms once they've started. Up next, can you prevent allergies, and is it true that allergies are getting worse?
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase of 16 weeks, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Air Force Research Laboratory is partnering with Google Cloud using AI to accelerate defense research for air, space, and cyberspace forces. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
Can you prevent seasonal allergies? That's a question I get pretty often, and the answer is sort of. There's no guaranteed way to prevent allergies, but we are learning that early life exposures might play a role. For example, if a child grows up in an environment with pets or on a farm, it can lower their risk of allergies. It probably helps trigger the immune system to develop a more balanced response to environmental triggers. Another strategy for prevention is to breastfeed. Breastfeeding and early food diets that are very diverse with lots of foods in them can also support immune development. And then a lot of parents ask me about probiotics, which have been studied, but the evidence is mixed. Some strains could be helpful, but we don't have a standard recommendation. In general, I would say it is much better to eat a diet that's rich in pro and prebiotics than to take one in a pill form. And if your child's allergies are very severe or aren't improving with medication, allergy treatments and immunotherapy could be helpful. There are an absolute ton of new treatments on the horizon, some of which are available now, and you need to see an allergist to explore these options. It's really interesting to me that just as researchers have developed new, very effective treatments for allergic conditions, the allergy season seems to have gotten longer and more intense. And it's true. That's Dr. Mary Johnson's area of expertise. She studies how climate change impacts our health. Here she is again to explain.
So one of the biggest factors is actually climate change, which is causing the allergy season to be about 3 weeks longer than it was years ago. It tends to now start earlier and later. And part of that is simply the increase in temperature. So you have the ground is thawing earlier and freezing later. In addition, the carbon dioxide in the air contributes to changes in the production of pollen and how allergenic it is to a person. So there's a bunch of different factors that kind of feed into the fact that the allergy season is getting worse.
Given the recent wildfires, parents are concerned about the effects of the smoke. Can you talk about your other research, including how air pollution and wildfire smoke affect human health?
We spend a lot of time researching how air pollution and especially wildfire smoke impacts our immune system. And there's a lot of research on air pollution in general and how it causes immune dysregulation. There's less information on wildfire smoke, especially in the general population, but we are studying both firefighters and people exposed to fires. And so far finding that the smoke does similar things to your immune system as air pollution. But since the concentrations can be much higher, the immune dysregulation may also be worse.
What is immune dysregulation?
Our immune system is really connected to probably every chronic disease that we have. Your body produces inflammatory responses through the immune system. And, a lot of chronic disease is related to some type of inflammation process. And so in general, we know that when you're exposed to things like air pollution, you get a downregulation in the production of healthy immune cells. That's not good. And you also get other types of immune cells kind of looking differently, kind of having a different immune signature. We also know that allergies tend to kind of cluster together. So someone with allergic rhinitis is more likely to have other types of allergies. Food allergies are on the rise and other types of allergies, and they kind of tend to go together.
Can you expand on why immune dysregulation is a problem for our health?
We definitely want our ability to produce inflammation because there are times then that's a good thing. However, sustained inflammation in the body potentially is not a good thing. And when we're exposed to these different environmental exposures, such as the air pollution, the smoke, other toxins, it causes our immune system to not function as well as it should. And there's been plenty of populational studies showing that, for example, if a community is exposed to wildfire smoke, like in the summer, that fall, more people are going to be getting like influenza. So it makes you more susceptible to other viruses, pathogens. And that's also true. There were, during the COVID pandemic, areas that had poor air quality had higher rates of COVID infection and mortality.
Well, shoot, that's not good news. So air pollution affects our immune function. The allergy season is getting longer and causes inflammation and potentially immune dysregulation in our bodies. So my takeaway here, and I've always thought this, is that when you or your child has allergy symptoms, they're not just annoying, like it's not just the itchy eyes and runny nose and constant sniffing. Your body doesn't like being irritated. A lot of children I take care of, their parents are hesitant to use allergy medications. I think it scares them to think about nasal sprays being steroids, or they don't like the idea of giving so much medication. But it is far better for your child not to be all inflamed from allergens than to use these medications. It is much better to use a nasal steroid every day than to have constant stimulation of the immune system and inflammation of the best barrier your body has to viruses. The moist part inside your nose, that's called the nasal mucosa, it's a barrier to letting viruses into your body. And if it's red and swollen and irritated from allergens, it doesn't work as well. And an allergy sufferer is far more likely to get sick. Plus, kids with allergies rub their noses more and they pick their noses. Yes, I see you doing that in my office. And when they rub their noses, they are basically shoving viruses into their face. So yes, allergies are getting worse. We have ways to manage them, and we need to manage them. And while we may not be able to fully prevent allergies, we can make a big difference in how they affect our kids by being proactive, consistent with treatment, and paying attention to those less obvious symptoms like your child's sleep quality and their focus. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a fellow parent or leave a review. And if your child struggles with allergies, know that you're not alone. There are lots of options to help them breathe easier. There's one other thing I want to share, and that is that recently I have started to give talks with parents and with mother-daughter groups. It's been really, really fun for me. If you're a longtime listener of the show, you know all the topics I can talk about, and sometimes I'm a bit entertaining. I would love to come talk to your group, so if that's something you're interested in, please contact me. For more from the Pediatrician Next Door, find me on the web at pediatriciannextdoorpodcast.com. If you've got a question about the weird things kids do, send an email to hello@pediatriciannextdoorpodcast.com for a chance to hear your voice on the show. I'm Dr. Wendy Hunter, and I'm the Pediatrician Next Door. This show is produced by Red Rock Music. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever it is you're listening. I'll be back next time with more.